Paragraphs have great strength as a unit of rhetoric, but if you want a full argument, you usually have to include them as a component within a broader essay. And for there, the rules can be a little bit more loose, but it's helpful sometimes to see them in the same vein as we would a paragraph. So an essay in form is the fuller argument of what you're trying to get across. Now, we're all familiar with the high school paradigm of the introduction, the body paragraph, the second body paragraph, and the third body paragraph, all followed by a conclusion. High schools drill this into kids with great regularity, and they can take on different forms, and you can outline it a number of different ways, but it's all essentially this form. But I look at this and I say, well, that's a little bit complicated. That's a little bit too idiosyncratic. Can't we simplify it just a little bit more? And as far as I'm concerned, all of this can be neatly built within the same paragraph form that we had in paragraphs, but within a different construction, it becomes C, statement, evidence, explanation. We all remember from the paragraph, the statement is a single idea expressed in a simple sentence. The statement is what you want to prove. Evidence is the empirical fact that supports your statement, and the explanation ties it all together. It explains how the evidence proves the statement. Now, taking this approach, this paradigm, and applying it to the essay format is fairly simple. You just reconfigure the elements of the high school paradigm into the C format. So remember, C. Statement here becomes the introduction. The evidence becomes the body paragraphs. The explanation becomes the conclusion. Now, a statement is an introduction. A statement is a single idea expressed in a single sentence. The statement is what you want to prove. A statement in 3 to 5 sentences is an introduction. Consider the introduction, consider the statement, I like monkeys because they're very funny. Simple sentence. But if we want to break that into components of an introduction, all we have to do is break it up and become a little bit pedantic with it, quite frankly. I like monkeys. They're very funny. This entertaining quality inspires me to watch them more attentively than I do with other animals. My enjoyment of monkeys extends through many different examples of the broad primate order. This all says the same thing. It's pedantic, it's slow, it's really annoying, but it's all saying the exact same thing that we compressed into that similar sentence up there. But if you're trying to get an essay out, if you're trying to do a paper or especially, I would argue, an in-class exam where you're timed, you have to be very disciplined about it. And here you're saying one thing. This is your one idea. I like monkeys. But then we move on to evidence. The evidence is the empirical fact that supports your statement. Okay, how does that work in a paragraph form? Well, you develop the evidence, and you generally, because we left off with the reference, the primate order, meaning all primates. That sort of leads into the idea that now you can get particular within that. You can get specific within that general category of primates. You can start to single out individual kinds of monkeys, and this helps you break down your essay into more component parts. So the first part, I'm just picking them at random. Macaws, a kind of monkey, are very silly. Then you provide some evidence, preferably scientific, evidence of macaws behaving in a silly manner. And then you explain how the macaw's behavior particularly amuses me. Or I explain that, rather. And then you go to chimpanzees are very sarcastic. You show some evidence of chimps behaving sarcastically. You know, you dig into your YouTube videos, if nothing else, and show them laughing at one another and kidding around. And then you offer an explanation of how the sarcasm of chimps is particularly amusing. Notice how I'm repeating that word particularly, because you started with the general of monkeys, and now you're getting particular, you're getting specific. And then a third, bonobos are very droll. I don't really know this about bonobos, but I'm just making it up. Evidence of bonobos being droll. Provide some of that. And then an explanation of how the particular drollness of bonobos is very entertaining. And I kind of like that phrase, particular drollness. All of this breaks down the basic argument that monkeys are very funny, that you like monkeys, and develops it. And then, of course, the explanation. The explanation ties it all together. It explains how the evidence proves the statement. And as a concluding paragraph, you want to look at it as a summation. And here we go back to the verbal tripwire that I suggest for the paragraph. And you burn the phrase into your mind. All this shows that. So like you're standing up at the end of a court trial and you're going to make a closing statement and you're going to say, everything I have shown here in court for the last week demonstrates my case. All this shows that. So developed as our monkey example. All this shows that I like monkeys. I like them because they're very amusing. I find macaws to be silly, chimps to be sarcastic, and bonobos to be very droll. These are all qualities which make me laugh in humans, and since monkeys also exhibit them, I like monkeys too. It all ties back. And if you look at I like monkeys too, I like monkeys is the first thing you said. You start at one point, you go through an entire argument, and then you end up at that same point to emphasize that you have proven your case. This is a silly example meant to be a little bit ironic and a little bit ridiculous, but through that you can see many, many iterations, many examples of it. An essay is about tight organization. And here's another image for you. An essay is a fist. It has 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers pulled together. Together, they are stronger than when apart. Strength and unity. They are tightly, tightly organized. Pack a punch. So consider, when writing a paragraph and then developing into an essay, stick with the C format. Statement is your introduction. Evidence is your body paragraphs. Explanation is your conclusion. Understand those functions of the components and you will never be lost in the process. You'll always know what you're writing, when you have to move on, and when you have more to do. Know what you're writing at all times.